The rain hammered against Kieran's apartment window like tiny fists, demanding to be let in. I watched the droplets race down the glass, wondering if they knew they were falling towards something that would break them apart. That's how I felt sitting on his worn leather couch, like I was falling, and the ground was rushing up to meet me. Blue? Baby, you're shaking. Kieran's voice wrapped around me like warm honey, but tonight it felt like poison. Sweet, deadly poison. I turned to look at him, really look at him, trying to memorize everything. The way his dark hair fell across his forehead, perpetually messy no matter how many times he pushed it back. Those storm-gray eyes that had seen through every wall I'd ever built. The small scar above his left eyebrow from a childhood accident he'd told me about on our third date 6 months ago. 6 months. Was that all we got? I'm fine, I lied, and the words tasted like ash. He didn't believe me. Kieran never believed my lies. That's what made this so much harder. You've been quiet since you got here. He moved closer, and I could smell his scent, pine and something wild, something distinctly alpha that made my Omega instincts sing. My body recognized its mate, responding to him on a level deeper than conscious thought. Even now, knowing what I had to do, my Omega side wanted nothing more than to curl into his arms, to let his alpha presence soothe away all the fear and pain. Did something happen with your family? Everything inside me screamed to tell him the truth. To explain that my father had called me into his office this morning, my mother standing beside his mahogany desk like a beautiful, cold statue. To describe how they'd laid out photographs on that desk. Pictures of Kieran and me at the small cafe where we thought no one knew us, kissing in the park at midnight, leaving his apartment building together. We know about your indiscretion, my father had said, the word dripping with disdain. This alpha, this nobody musician playing in dive bars. Do you have any idea what this could do to our family's reputation? An heir consorting with someone so beneath his station. He's not a nobody, I'd whispered, knowing it was futile. He's talented. He's got a meeting with Apex Records next week. They want to sign him. My mother had laughed, sharp and cruel. Oh, Blue. Sweet, naive Blue. Do you really think that meeting will happen if we don't want it to? The threat had been crystal clear. They had connections everywhere. One phone call and Kieran's dream would die before it even began. They'd blacklist him from every studio, every venue, every opportunity. My father had pulled out his phone right there, finger hovering over a contact labeled Richard Chun, Apex Records CEO. You have a choice, Blue, my father had said coldly. End this relationship tonight, or I make this call tomorrow morning. Your alpha boyfriend will never play another note professionally. We'll make sure of it. He'll spend the rest of his life wondering why every door slammed in his face, why every opportunity evaporated. And he'll never know it was because of you. You can't, that's evil. That's protection, my mother had interrupted. We're protecting you from making a mistake that would haunt you forever. You're an Omega from one of the most prestigious families in the country. You have duties, expectations. You'll be bonded to an alpha of proper standing, someone who can elevate our family's position. Not some foster system cast-off with a guitar and delusions of grandeur. The cruelty of her words had stolen my breath. Kieran's childhood in foster care wasn't something to be mocked. It was the crucible that had forged his strength, his determination, his beautiful soul. But they didn't care. They'd never cared about anything except their precious reputation and social standing. Blue. Kieran's hand touched my cheek, bringing me back to the present. His touch sent sparks through me, that alpha-omega connection that made everything feel right, even when everything was wrong. Talk to me, please. This was the moment. I'd rehearsed it 100 times on the drive over, forcing myself to stay cold, to remember what was at stake. Kieran had worked his entire life for this chance. He'd grown up in foster care, bouncing from home to home, never having a real family, never feeling wanted. Music had been his only constant, his only escape. He'd played in subway stations for change, worked 3 jobs while writing songs in stolen moments between shifts. His music wasn't just a career. It was his survival, his purpose, his proof that he mattered in a world that had tried to convince him he didn't. How could I let my family destroy that? How could I be that selfish? How could I take away the one thing that made him feel like he had value? I need to talk to you, I said, and my voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. About us. Something shifted in his expression. Fear flickered across his face, quickly masked, but I caught it. The alpha in him was sensing my distress, trying to figure out the threat. Okay, I don't think this is working anymore. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the rain seemed to pause, holding its breath. What? His hand dropped from my face. Blue, what are you talking about? Do it. Hurt him. Make him believe it. Save him. I mean exactly what I said. This, whatever this is between us. It's not working. Each word felt like swallowing glass. I thought I could do this. Be with someone like you. But I can't. Someone like me? His voice had gone quiet, dangerous in a way I'd never heard before. What does that mean? You know what it means, Kieran. I forced myself to look at him, to see the hurt I was causing. If I was going to do this, I wouldn't be a coward about it. You're not from my world. You don't have the background, the breeding, the connections. My family has expectations for who I'll bond with, and you don't meet them. Your family. He stood up abruptly, pacing across the small living room like a caged animal. Since when do you care what they think? You told me you hated their world. You said being with me was the first time you felt like yourself, like you could breathe. I lied. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. I watched them cut into him, watched his face crumble before he caught himself, that alpha pride forcing him to hold it together. God, I hated myself. I hated my parents. I hated this whole fucking situation. You lied. He repeated it like he was testing the weight of the words, trying to understand how something so impossible could be true. About what exactly? About loving me? About all those nights you spent here? About talking about our future, about bonding, about building a life together? My Omega instincts screamed at me to take it back, to tell my alpha I didn't mean it, to submit and apologize and make everything right again. The bond between us, even though we weren't officially mated, was already so strong. Breaking it felt like tearing out a piece of my soul. All of it. My voice cracked, but I pushed through. I was experimenting, rebelling against my family. You were exciting, different. But it's time to get back to reality. I have responsibilities, a family legacy to uphold. And you. I paused, knowing this next part would be the killing blow. You were fun, Kieran. A walk on the wild side. But you were never going to be my mate. My family would never allow an alpha like you to bond with their Omega heir. The way his face went blank was worse than if he'd yelled. Worse than if he'd raged or thrown something or told me to get out. He just shut down, like a light being switched off. An alpha like me, he said quietly. You mean poor. From the foster system. No family name, no connections, no pedigree. Yes. The word was barely a whisper, but it might as well have been a gunshot. He laughed then, but it was the most broken sound I'd ever heard. You know what's funny? I actually thought we were different. I thought we were building something real, something that mattered more than all that social hierarchy bullshit. I thought what we had was strong enough to overcome anything. Well, you were wrong. Yeah. He turned away from me, facing the window, his shoulders rigid. I guess I was. But you know what, Blue? I'm glad I found out now, before I made an even bigger fool of myself. Before I bonded with you and trapped myself with an Omega who sees me as nothing more than a temporary distraction. The pain in his voice was a physical thing, sharp and cutting. My Omega side was in agony, every instinct telling me I was making a terrible mistake, that I was rejecting my alpha, that I needed to fix this immediately. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. This was the only way to save him. I should go, I said, standing on shaking legs. Yeah, you should. He still wouldn't look at me. Go back to your mansion and your trust fund and your perfect Omega life. Find an alpha who meets your family's standards. Someone with the right last name and the right connections. Someone who can give you the life you clearly want. I walked toward the door, each step feeling like walking through cement. My hand touched the doorknob, and I almost broke. Almost turned around. Almost confessed everything. Blue. His voice stopped me, and for one wild moment, hope surged through me. Maybe he knew. Maybe he could see through the lies. Maybe his alpha instincts were telling him something was wrong. I looked back at him. I hope he makes you happy, Kieran said, his voice dead. Whoever your family picks for you. I hope you get everything you deserve. The double meaning wasn't lost on me. I deserved to suffer for this. I deserved every ounce of pain that was coming. The door closed behind me with a soft click that sounded like the end of the world. I made it to my car before the sobs overtook me, doubling over in the driver's seat, crying so hard I thought I might break apart. My Omega instincts were in chaos, screaming that I'd just rejected my alpha, that I'd damaged something precious and irreplaceable. The bond between us, that invisible thread that connected alpha and Omega, felt like it was being stretched to the breaking point. It hurt. God, it hurt so much. I drove back to my family's estate in a daze, the massive iron gates opening automatically to swallow me back into the prison I'd tried so hard to escape. The mansion loomed ahead, all marble columns and old money, beautiful and suffocating. My mother was waiting in the foyer, her expression carefully neutral. "It's done." I walked past her without answering, my Omega instincts still howling in distress. I could feel her disapproval even without looking. I was a mess, tear-stained and broken, not the composed Omega heir they'd raised me to be. "Blue." Her voice was sharp. "Answer me. Did you end it with that alpha?" "Yes." The word came out flat, emotionless. "It's over. He thinks I'm a spoiled Omega who used him for entertainment. He'll never want to see me again." "Good." She actually smiled. Dr. Chen called. "He's willing to overlook this, indiscretion. His son is an alpha quite accomplished from an excellent family. They'll be attending the charity gala next month. You'll meet him then." The thought of being introduced to another alpha, of being expected to smile and flirt and pretend I wasn't dying inside, made me want to vomit. "I'm going to my room," I said, already moving toward the stairs. "Blue." My father's voice came from his study. "A word." I changed direction, walking into the lion's den. My father sat behind his massive desk, looking every inch the powerful alpha patriarch. He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit." I sat, my Omega instincts automatically obeying the alpha command, even though I hated myself for it. "You did the right thing," he said, which was probably the closest thing to praise I'd ever get from him. "That alpha wasn't suitable for you. He would have dragged you down, made you common. You're better than that." "Is that all?" My voice was hollow. "No." He leaned forward. "I'm telling you this so you understand why we did what we did. Your mother and I aren't trying to control you out of cruelty. We're protecting you. We're ensuring you have the life you deserve, a life of comfort, security, and respect. An Omega of your standing needs an alpha who can provide that. Kieran could have." "Kieran is nobody," my father said coldly. "Yes, he has some talent. Maybe he would have had a decent career playing small venues, making a modest living. But that's not the life for you. You need more. You deserve more." I stared at him, seeing him clearly for the first time. He actually believed what he was saying. He genuinely thought he was protecting me, saving me from a mistake. He couldn't understand that the biggest mistake was letting him destroy the only real thing I'd ever had. "Can I go now?" He waved his hand dismissively, and I fled to my room, a suite larger than Kieran's entire apartment. Everything was exactly as I'd left it this morning. Expensive. Perfect. Empty. I lay down on my bed, still fully clothed and curled into a ball. My Omega instincts were in mourning, grieving the loss of our alpha. Even though we hadn't officially bonded, even though there was no mating mark, the connection had been real. Breaking it felt like losing a limb. Somewhere across the city, Kieran was probably doing the same thing. Except he thought I'd betrayed him. He thought I was a shallow Omega who'd used him and thrown him away. He thought I was a monster. Better that than the alternative. Better he hate me than lose everything he'd worked for. 3 weeks later, I was eating breakfast in the sunroom, pushing food around my plate without actually eating, when I heard it. Kieran's voice, rough and raw with emotion, pouring out of the radio. "That's that new artist everyone's talking about," my father commented from behind his newspaper. "Kieran something. Apex Records signed him. His debut single hit number won this week. Quite impressive for someone from his background." I sat frozen, Kieran's lyrics washing over me, every word about heartbreak and betrayal and love turned toxic. He'd turned his pain into art, just like he always did. And it was beautiful. Devastating and beautiful. "You said forever, but forever was a lie. Used me like a secret you were desperate to hide. Now I'm just a story that you'll never tell. Another broken alpha under your spell." My mother glanced at me, a small, satisfied smile on her lips. "See, Blue? Everything worked out. He got his career. You learned a valuable lesson about appropriate partnerships. Everyone wins." But as Kieran's voice filled the room, singing about a love that destroyed him, I felt something else stirring. A wave of nausea that had nothing to do with emotion. I'd been feeling off for days now. Tired. Nauseous, especially in the mornings. My scent had changed slightly, something I'd noticed but attributed to stress. But Omegas didn't just get stress-related nausea that lasted for weeks. My hand moved to my stomach under the table, a gesture so small my parents couldn't see. "No, it couldn't be. Could it?" "Excuse me," I said abruptly, standing up. "I'm not feeling well." I made it to my bathroom before getting sick, the breakfast I'd barely eaten coming back up. When I finally stopped heaving, I looked at myself in the mirror. My face was pale, my eyes haunted. And there, just barely visible, was a slight change to my scent. Something sweeter, something that spoke of new life. No, I whispered to my reflection. Please no. But deep down, I already knew. I was pregnant with Kieran's baby. And the only person who should know, the only person who deserved to know, thought I was a heartless Omega who'd used him for entertainment. I touched my stomach, that protective gesture already becoming instinct. What have I done? I whispered. What the hell have I done? From downstairs, Kieran's voice continued to sing about betrayal and broken hearts. His number one hit a testament to the love I'd destroyed. And inside me, our baby grew, a secret I hadn't planned on keeping, a consequence of our last desperate night together. A life that would change everything. The pregnancy test sat on my bathroom counter like a tiny bomb, the 2 pink lines staring back at me with undeniable clarity. I'd taken 6 tests over the past 4 days, each one showing the same result. Positive. Pregnant. Carrying life. My hands shook as I gripped the edge of the marble sink, staring at my reflection in the mirror. I looked the same dark hair, same blue eyes that gave me my name, same pale skin. But everything had changed. Inside me, a tiny cluster of cells was growing, dividing, becoming a person. Half me, half Kieran. Our baby. Being a male Omega meant I'd always known pregnancy was possible. We learned about it in health class, had the awkward conversations with doctors about heat suppressants and birth control. But knowing something intellectually and experiencing it were 2 completely different things. I was 23 years old, alone, and pregnant with the baby of an alpha who thought I'd used him and thrown him away like trash. I did the math obsessively, counting back on my calendar app. That last night with Kieran, 4 weeks and 3 days ago. The night I'd gone to his apartment knowing I was about to break both our hearts. We'd been desperate, clinging to each other like drowning people, and we'd been careless. So careless. Or maybe some part of me had wanted this. Wanted something of Kieran that no one could take away. My hand moved to my stomach, still flat, showing no signs of the life growing inside. Hey there, little one, I whispered, feeling foolish but unable to stop myself. You picked one hell of a time to show up. For 3 days, I lived in a fog of denial and desperate hope. I researched everything obsessively, Omega pregnancy, first trimester symptoms, what to expect. I learned that male Omega pregnancies were rare but not impossible, that I'd need special medical care, that the first 12 weeks were the most critical. I also researched how to survive independently. How much money I'd need for an apartment, for food, for medical care. My trust fund wouldn't unlock until I turned 25, still 2 years away. But I had savings, about $15,000 in a personal account my parents didn't monitor closely. I had jewelry too, expensive pieces I'd inherited from my grandmother. If I was smart, if I was careful, I could make it work. I let myself dream. A small apartment somewhere quiet. A part-time job. Raising our baby alone but filling their life with love. Maybe, once the baby was born, I could reach Kieran. Show him his child. Explain everything. Maybe he'd understand. Maybe we could be a family. The dream felt fragile, like spun glass, but it was mine. That fragile dream shattered on a Thursday morning. I was in the library, my laptop open to an article about Omega prenatal care, when my mother walked in. She never came to the library. It was my space, the one room in the massive house where I could usually find peace. Blue, darling. Close your laptop, please. We need to talk. The way she said it made ice form in my veins. I looked up from the screen, and her expression was pleasant, almost cheerful. That's when I knew something was catastrophically wrong. My mother was never cheerful unless she'd won something. About what? I asked, my voice steady despite the fear crawling up my spine. She sat down across from me, crossing her legs elegantly. She was wearing Chanel, her hair pulled back in a perfect chignon, her makeup flawless. She looked like she was about to discuss brunch plans, not destroy my world. About your condition. The room tilted. My what? The pregnancy blew. Don't insult my intelligence by pretending you don't know what I'm talking about. My mouth went dry. How did you? The housekeeping staff found pregnancy tests in your bathroom trash. Her smile didn't waver. Multiple tests hidden under tissues. Really, darling, if you're going to keep secrets, you need to be more careful. Maria reported it to me immediately. Loyalty to this family is part of her job description. Betrayed by the housekeeper. Of course. Everyone in this house ultimately answered to my parents. When were you planning to tell us? My mother continued, pulling a folder from her designer purse. Or were you hoping to hide it until you started showing? It's none of your business, I said, but my voice came out weak. Everything you do is our business. You live under our roof, bear our name, carry our legacy. She opened the folder, revealing medical documents. I had Dr. Morrison run a blood test to confirm. The sedative I put in your evening tea last Saturday worked perfectly. You didn't even wake up when he drew the blood. Horror washed over me in nauseating waves. You drugged me? You had someone take my blood without my consent. Oh, Blue. So dramatic. She waved her hand dismissively. It was a mild sedative and a simple blood draw. No harm done. The important thing is that we now have confirmation. You're approximately 4 weeks pregnant. The timing matches perfectly with that unfortunate alpha you were seeing. The clinical way she said it, like my baby was a problem to be solved rather than a life to be celebrated, made rage bubble up inside me. This is my baby, I said, standing up. Mine and Kieran's. You can't. Sit down. The alpha command in her voice made my Omega instincts scream to obey, but I fought it, remaining standing. She frowned, displeased by my defiance. I said, sit down, Blue. No. My hands clenched into fists. You can't command me like I'm a child. I'm an adult, and this is my choice. Your choice. She stood as well, her pleasant mask finally cracking. You think you have choices? You're carrying that alpha's bastard child. Do you have any idea what this will do to our family's reputation? The scandal. I don't care about your reputation. Well, you should. Her voice rose, sharp and cutting. Do you think you can just run off and play house with an illegitimate baby? Where will you live? How will you support yourself? That alpha certainly can't help you. He thinks you're a spoiled brat who used him for entertainment. The words hit like physical blows, but I forced myself to stay strong. I have money. I can figure it out. $15,000? She laughed coldly. I know about that account, Blue. Do you really think that's enough to raise a child? To pay for medical care? An Omega pregnancy requires specialized doctors, expensive procedures. You'll burn through that money in months. I'll get a job. Doing what? You have a degree in art history. Your only work experience is volunteering at gallery openings. You've never had a real job in your life. She stepped closer, and I could smell her alpha pheromones, cold, dominant, threatening. You're not equipped for this, Blue. You're not ready to be a parent. And whose fault is that? The words burst out of me. You kept me sheltered, controlled, dependent. You never let me make my own decisions or learn to take care of myself. And now you're using that against me. For a moment, surprise flickered across her face. Then it hardened again. Regardless of whose fault it is, the reality remains. You cannot have this baby. She pulled out another document. Dr. Morrison has already scheduled the procedure for tomorrow morning at his private clinic. It's very discreet. He handles these situations for families like ours all the time. No. The word came out firm, certain. I'm not doing that. Blue. I said no. I grabbed my laptop, shoving it into my bag. This is my baby. Mine. And I'm keeping it. If you walk out that door, you're walking away from everything, my mother said, her voice like ice. Your trust fund, your inheritance, this family. You'll be on your own. Good. I don't want anything from you anyway. I made it 3 steps toward the door before she said the words that stopped me cold. We'll take the baby from you. I turned slowly, my heart pounding. What? If you somehow manage to have this child, we'll take it from you. Her expression was calm, matter of fact, which made it so much worse. We have the best lawyers money can buy, Blue. We can prove you're an unfit parent. All those therapy sessions you had as a teenager for anxiety and depression? Perfect evidence of mental instability. Your complete lack of work history or independent living experience. Proof you can't provide for a child. We'll have you declared incompetent before the baby even takes its first breath. You can't do that. But even as I said it, I knew she could. My family had connections everywhere. Judges, social workers, doctors. They could make anything happen. Can't we? She tilted her head. Think about it, Blue. Is this really what you want? For that child to be torn away from you by the courts? To end up in the foster system, just like its father did? Is that the life you want for Kieran's baby? The mention of Kieran, of our baby ending up alone and unwanted like he had been, broke something inside me. Kieran had told me stories about foster care. The loneliness, the feeling of being unwanted, the constant moving from home to home. He'd only survived because of his music, because he'd had something to pour his pain into. What would our baby have? I see you're starting to understand, my mother said softly. This isn't cruelty, Blue. This is protection. The procedure is quick, painless. You can move on with your life, find an appropriate alpha, have children when you're actually ready for them. With someone you approve of, you mean. With someone who can provide the life you and your children deserve, yes. I stared at her, really seeing her for the first time. Not as my mother, but as the monster she truly was. Everything she did, every manipulation, every threat, she genuinely believed she was protecting me, saving me from myself. The appointment is at 9 a.m. tomorrow, she said, moving toward the door. Dr. Morrison's clinic is 30 minutes away. I'll drive you myself. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I stood there for exactly 10 seconds, my mind racing. Then I moved. I ran to my room, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I grabbed my largest bag, a leather weekender I used for overnight trips. I started gathering things, my hands shaking so badly I kept dropping items. Not clothes. Clothes could be replaced. I needed things with value. I cleaned out my jewelry box, the diamond earrings from my grandmother worth at least $10,000, the pearl necklace, the gold bracelet, the sapphire ring. I shoved them all into a small pouch and tucked it into the bag. My laptop, charger, phone and charger, the emergency credit card I'd hidden in a book, one my parents didn't know about, opened with a fake ID when I was 17 and rebellious. I'd never used it, keeping it for an emergency exactly like this. I found my passport in my desk drawer and added it to the bag. Cash from various hiding spots around my room, $340. Not much, but something. My hands hovered over a framed photo on my nightstand. It was from 3 months ago, taken by Marcus at an open mic night. Kieran was on stage with his guitar, and I was watching him from the audience, my expression so full of love it hurt to see. Marcus had texted it to me the next day with a laughing emoji and the caption, "You're so gone for him." He'd been right. I grabbed the photo, frame and all, and shoved it into the bag. Then I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop one more time. I pulled up my email and started typing. To Kieran.cross@apexrecords.com. Subject, please read this, Blue. Kieran, I know you probably delete any emails from me without reading them. I know you hate me. You have every right to. But please, if you ever loved me at all, read this. Everything I said that night was a lie. My family threatened to destroy your career if I didn't break up with you. They had connections at Apex Records, said they'd make sure you never recorded another song. I couldn't let them do that to you. Your music is your life, your dream, everything you've worked for. I couldn't be the reason you lost it all. I thought I was protecting you. I thought pushing you away was the right thing to do. But now something's happened, something that changes everything. I need to talk to you. Please. I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I'm begging you. Call me. Text me. Anything. I'm sorry. For everything. I never stopped loving you. Blue. My finger hovered over the send button. Then I thought about my mother's threat, about lawyers and custody battles, and my baby ending up in the system. If I sent this email and my parents found out, if they somehow intercepted it or monitored my email. No, I couldn't risk it. Not yet. Not until I was safe. I deleted the draft and closed the laptop. Instead, I pulled out my phone and sent a text to Marcus, Kieran's best friend. Marcus, I know you probably hate me for what I did to Kieran. I deserve it. But I'm in trouble and I need help. Please, can you get me Kieran's new number? It's an emergency. I hit send before I could second-guess myself, then waited, my heart in my throat. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Finally, my phone buzzed. Are you kidding me right now? He said, you broke Kieran's heart, and now you want his number? No, absolutely not. Leave him alone, Blue. He's finally happy. My eyes burned with tears. I typed back desperately. I know what I did was horrible. But there's something he needs to know, something important. Please, Marcus. I'm begging you. After this, if he never wants to hear from me again, I'll disappear. I promise. The response came faster this time. Marcus, what could possibly be so important that you need to drag him back into your toxic family drama? I stared at the message, my hand unconsciously moving to my stomach. Could I tell Marcus? Would he help if he knew? Before I could decide, another message came through. Look, even if I wanted to help you, which I can't. Kieran changed his number after the breakup. His management team handles all his contact now. Everything goes through them. They screen his calls, his emails, his social media. He's unreachable unless you go through official channels, and they're not going to put through his ex who broke his heart. Unreachable. The word felt like a death sentence. I tried anyway. I sent emails to every address I could find associated with Kieran or Apex Records. I sent messages through his official social media accounts, which now had blue verification checkmarks and hundreds of thousands of followers. I even tried calling the record label's main number, only to be told by a bored receptionist that they didn't forward personal messages to their artists. Every door was closed. Every path was blocked. Kieran had become a star in the 4 weeks since I'd pushed him away. And stars lived in a different world, one I couldn't reach anymore. I was truly alone. That night, I barely slept. I lay in my bed, one hand on my stomach, talking to the tiny life growing inside me. I don't know how we're going to do this, little one, I whispered into the darkness. But I promise you, I will keep you safe. I'll protect you from them, from everyone who wants to hurt us. The baby couldn't hear me yet, was barely more than a cluster of cells, but somehow saying the words out loud made them feel real. Made my promise feel real. At 3:30 in the morning, I made my decision. I couldn't reach Kieran. I couldn't fight my family's lawyers. I couldn't stay here and let them force me into that clinic tomorrow. But I could run. At 4 a.m., I got dressed in the dark, jeans, a hoodie, sneakers. The most anonymous, practical clothes I owned. I grabbed my packed bag and tiptoed down the hallway, every creak of the floorboards making my heart stop. The house was silent. The staff wasn't awake yet. My parents were asleep in their wing on the other side of the mansion. I made it to the garage without being seen. My car was too recognizable, too easy to trace. Instead, I took the keys to one of the staff vehicles, an old Honda Civic that belonged to Thomas, the groundskeeper. I'd leave it somewhere with the keys, make sure he got it back somehow. My hands shook as I started the engine, the sound obscenely loud in the quiet garage. I held my breath, waiting for lights to turn on, for someone to come running. Nothing. I drove out of the garage, through the estate grounds, toward the front gate. The security system was automated at night. The gates would open for any vehicle leaving, assuming it was staff. The gates swung open, and I drove through them, away from the only home I'd ever known. Away from my family, my name, my entire life. The city was still dark, streetlights creating pools of orange light on empty roads. I drove without a clear destination, just away. Away from the mansion. Away from the threat. Away from the clinic appointment that would end my baby's life before it even began. I ended up at a 24-hour diner on the outskirts of the city. I parked in the back of the lot and finally let myself break down, sobbing into my hands, the weight of what I'd just done crashing over me. I was alone, pregnant, on the run, with less than $1,000 in cash and no way to reach the father of my baby. But as the sun began to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, I felt something else too. Something unexpected. Hope. I pulled out my phone and searched for bus stations nearby. The Greyhound station was 15 minutes away. I could leave Thomas's car there with the keys under the mat and a note of apology. I could buy a ticket to somewhere far away, somewhere my family wouldn't think to look for me, somewhere I could start over. I opened my Maps app and scrolled through options. Cities I'd never been to, towns I'd never heard of. My finger stopped on one name, Crescent Bay. A small coastal town about 6 hours north. Population 15,000. Not too big, not too small. The kind of place where a young Omega could disappear and start fresh. Perfect. Drove to the bus station and parked Thomas's car carefully in the long-term lot. I left the keys under the floor mat with a note. I'm sorry, Thomas. Please forgive me. B. Inside the station, I bought a one-way ticket to Crescent Bay with cash. The clerk barely looked at me, too tired from the night shift to care about another early morning traveler. The bus wouldn't leave for another hour. I sat in the uncomfortable plastic chairs and pulled out my phone one last time. I opened my messages to Kieran, the number I still had saved even though it didn't work anymore, and typed out a message I knew he'd never receive. I'm so sorry, Kieran. I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry you'll probably never know about our baby. But I promise you, I'll love them enough for both of us. I'll tell them about you, about your music, your strength, your beautiful heart. They'll know their father is a star. I love you. I never stopped. I never will. Blue. I didn't send it. There was no point. Instead, I saved it in my drafts, a message to nowhere, a prayer to someone who couldn't hear me. Final boarding call for Bus 47 to Crescent Bay. The announcement crackled over the speakers. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and walked toward the bus. Toward an uncertain future. Toward a life I'd have to build from nothing. But as I climbed the steps and found my seat, my hand moved to my stomach again. "Just you and me now, little one," I whispered. "But that's okay. We're going to be okay." The bus pulled out of the station as the sun fully rose, carrying me away from everything I'd known and toward something terrifying and unknown. But also toward freedom. And toward the chance to give my baby something I'd never had, a parent who would sacrifice everything to protect them. As the city disappeared behind me, I watched Kieran's face on a billboard advertising his new single. His image was 50 feet tall, his name in lights, living proof that pushing him away had been the right choice. He had his dream, and I had his baby. It would have to be enough. 5 years later. "Papa! Papa, wake up! You're going to be late for work." I jolted awake to find a small body bouncing on my bed, dark curls flying everywhere, storm-gray eyes. So much like Kieran's it hurt, staring down at me with 5-year-old impatience. I'm awake, I mumbled, reaching out to pull my daughter into a hug. She squealed with laughter, squirming in my arms. "Good morning, my little pumpkin." "Papa, I'm not a pumpkin." Maya protested, but she was giggling, her small arms wrapping around my neck. "I'm a big girl now. I'm 5. You're right, you're absolutely right. My big girl who's 5. I kissed the top of her head, breathing in her scent, a unique blend of omega sweetness and alpha strength that marked her as the child of both of us. "What do you want for breakfast?" "Pancakes. With chocolate chips." She bounced again, full of the endless energy that 5-year-olds seem to possess. "Chocolate chip pancakes it is, then." I glanced at the clock on my nightstand. 6:30. I had to be at the cafe by 8 for the morning shift, then at the bookstore by 2 for the afternoon shift. 2 jobs, 6 days a week, just to keep us afloat in our tiny 2-bedroom apartment above the hardware store in Crescent Bay. It wasn't the life I'd imagined, but watching Maya's face light up as I promised her favorite breakfast, I couldn't regret a single choice that had led me here. The past 5 years had been the hardest and best years of my life. I'd arrived in Crescent Bay with less than $1,000 and a secret growing inside me. The first few months had been terrifying. I'd rented a room in a boarding house run by Mrs. Chun, an elderly beta woman who asked no questions and charged minimal rent. I'd sold my grandmother's diamond earrings to pay for prenatal care at the local clinic, where Dr. Sarah Reeves, a kind Omega doctor, had helped me through my pregnancy with a discount she claimed was for medical students, but I knew was charity. When Maya was born on a freezing January night, I'd held her tiny body and cried. She was perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, a shock of dark hair, and when she finally opened her eyes weeks later, they were gray. Kieran's eyes. "You look just like your other papa," I'd whispered to her in the hospital, alone except for the nurses. "He would love you so much if he knew you existed." I'd named her Maya Rose Cross. Maya because it meant dream in Sanskrit, and she was the best dream I'd ever had. Rose after my grandmother, the only family member I'd ever felt truly loved by. And Cross, Kieran's last name, because even if he never knew about her, she deserved to carry part of him with her. The first year had been brutal. I'd worked as a waitress at the diner, bringing Maya with me in a car seat that I'd bought secondhand. The owner, a gruff alpha named Joe, had a soft spot for struggling parents and let me keep her in the back office while I worked. I'd barely slept, barely eaten, barely survived. But we'd made it. By the time Maya was 2, I'd found better work. Morning shifts at a local cafe, afternoon shifts at the bookstore. Mrs. Chen's daughter-in-law ran a small daycare and gave me a discount in exchange for helping with bookkeeping on weekends. Slowly, painfully, I'd built a life. It wasn't glamorous. Our apartment was small, with peeling wallpaper and pipes that clanged in winter. I bought our clothes at thrift stores and stretched every dollar until it screamed. I'd learned to cut hair from YouTube videos so I could trim Maya's curls myself. I'd taught myself to cook cheap, nutritious meals, to fix broken toys instead of buying new ones, to find joy in free things like the public library and the beach. But Maya never went hungry. She always had clean clothes, books to read, toys to play with. And most importantly, she had love. So much love. "Papa, you're daydreaming again." Maya's voice brought me back to the present. She was standing by my bed now, hands on her hips in a pose so reminiscent of how I used to stand when frustrated that it made me smile. Sorry, baby. Let's make those pancakes. In our tiny kitchen, I mixed the batter while Maya carefully counted out chocolate chips, her tongue poking out in concentration. The morning light streamed through our window, which overlooked Main Street. I could see the ocean in the distance, gray and vast, the same color as Maya's eyes. Papa, Maya asked as I poured batter onto the griddle. Can we watch the music show tonight? My hand tightened on the spatula. I knew exactly which show she meant. Over the years, I'd made a decision that some might call masochistic, but felt necessary. I'd never lied to Maya about who her other father was. When she was old enough to ask why she only had one papa when other kids had two parents, I'd told her age-appropriate truth. Your other papa is a very talented alpha named Kieran. I'd explained when she was 3. He's a musician. He makes beautiful music. He doesn't know about you because grown-up things happen that kept us apart. But it's not because he doesn't want you. He would love you so much if he knew you existed. Why doesn't he know? She'd asked with 3-year-old directness. Because sometimes life is complicated, pumpkin. But that doesn't mean he's not important. He's your papa too, even if he's not here. I'd shown her pictures. Old photos from my phone that I'd backed up before running away. Kieran playing guitar at the open mic night. Kieran laughing at something Marcus had said. Kieran looking at me with so much love it made my chest ache. He has the same eyes as me. Maya had exclaimed, delighted. Yes, he does. You have his eyes and his hair. And I think you might have his musical talent too. That had proven true. By age 4, Maya was humming complex melodies and keeping perfect rhythm. She'd begged for a toy guitar, and I'd saved for 3 months to buy her a small acoustic from the pawn shop. She'd taken to it immediately, her small fingers learning chords with a natural ease that was pure Kieran. And because Kieran was now one of the biggest pop stars in the country, Maya saw him everywhere. On TV, on billboards, in magazines at the grocery store checkout. His second album had gone platinum. His face was on late-night talk shows. He'd won awards, sold out stadiums, become everything he'd dreamed of becoming. And I watched from a distance, proud and heartbroken in equal measure. Yes, I said finally, flipping the pancake. We can watch the music show tonight. Yes. Maya pumped her fist in the air. He's going to be on with that other famous lady. The one who sings the song about flowers. Jasmine Rose, yeah. I knew more about Kieran's career than was probably healthy. I knew his tour dates, his collaborations, his chart positions. I told myself it was for Maya, so I could answer her questions. But really I just needed to see him. To know he was okay, happy, successful. To remember why I'd made the choice I did. After breakfast, I got Maya ready for kindergarten. Her favorite purple dress with the stars on it, her hair pulled back with the butterfly clips she'd picked out herself. She chattered the whole time about her friend Sophie and the art project they were working on. We're making a family tree, Maya explained as I brushed her teeth. Everyone draws their family. I'm going to draw you and me and other papa. My hand paused. Other papa? Yeah, that's what I call him. Kieran. My other papa. She said it so matter-of-factly, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Is that okay? Of course it's okay, sweetheart. I kissed her forehead. I'm sure he'd be honored. I dropped Maya off at Crescent Bay Elementary, watching as she ran to join her friends on the playground. She was so confident, so happy, so loved. Everything I'd wanted for her. My shift at the cafe was busy. Tourists were starting to arrive for the summer season, and everyone wanted fancy coffee drinks. My feet ached, my Omega body still more tired than it should be from the constant work. But I smiled, made small talk, pocketed tips that would help pay for Maya's art supplies. During my break, I checked my phone. There was a text from Jenny, another single parent who worked at the bookstore. Jenny, hey, there's a free kids concert at the park Saturday. Maya would love it. Wanna come? Blue, definitely. Thanks for thinking of us. This was my life now. Small kindnesses from friends who'd become family. Community events and hand-me-down clothes and making every penny count. It wasn't the life I'd been raised for, but it was real. Honest. Mine. After my shift at the bookstore, I picked Maya up from after-school care. She bounced the whole way home, talking about her day, showing me the pictures she'd drawn in art class. A family portrait with her in the middle, me on one side, and a stick figure with a guitar on the other. That's other papa, she explained proudly. I made him holding a guitar because he's a musician. It's beautiful, baby. We'll put it on the fridge. That evening, after a dinner of spaghetti and frozen vegetables, we settled on our worn couch to watch the music awards show. Maya snuggled against my side, her small body warm and perfect. The show opened with a performance by some pop group I didn't recognize. Maya hummed along, already picking out the melody. Then the host announced the next performer. Ladies and gentlemen, the artist who's been dominating the charts for 5 years straight, whose third album just went triple platinum, Kieran. The crowd erupted. The camera panned to show Kieran walking onto the stage, and my breath caught. He looked older, more polished. His hair was styled professionally now, his clothes designer. But his eyes were the same, those storm gray eyes that Maya had inherited. And when he picked up his guitar, when his fingers touched the strings, he transformed. Became the Kieran I'd fallen in love with, the one who played music like it was breathing. He sang a new song I hadn't heard yet, something slow and aching about lost love and regret. His voice poured through our small living room, and I felt tears prick my eyes. "Papa!" Maya looked up at me. "Why are you crying?" I hadn't realized I was. I wiped at my cheeks quickly. "I'm not crying, Pumpkin. Just the song is very beautiful. You always cry when you watch other Papa." Maya's voice was matter-of-fact, but her small hand found mine, squeezing. "Does it make you sad?" "Yes and no," I said honestly. I'd always tried to be honest with her, even when the truth was complicated. It makes me sad because I miss him. But it makes me happy too, because he's doing what he loves. He's sharing his gift with the world. "Did he hurt you?" The question was so direct, so innocent, that it pierced my heart. "Is that why you're not together?" I looked down at my daughter, this perfect, perceptive little person who saw too much. "It's more complicated than that, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups have to make very hard choices. I made choices to protect him, and those choices meant we couldn't be together. But you still love him." It wasn't a question. "Yes," I whispered. "I still love him. Very much. Does he love you?" God, how did I answer that? Did Kieran still think about me? Did he hate me for what I'd done? Had he moved on, found another Omega, bonded with someone else? The thought of Kieran with someone else, of another Omega wearing his mark, made my chest feel like it was caving in. "I think he did once," I said carefully. "But I hurt him, Maya. I hurt him badly. So I don't know if he loves me anymore." Maya was quiet for a long moment, watching as Kieran finished his song to thunderous applause. Then she said, "I think you should tell him about me." "What?" "Other Papa. You should tell him about me." She looked up at me with those knowing gray eyes. "Maybe if he knew about me, he wouldn't be sad anymore. And you wouldn't cry when you watch him on TV." "Oh, baby." I pulled her close, burying my face in her curls. "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because my family might still be looking for me. Because Kieran was famous now, and any scandal could hurt his career. Because I was terrified that he'd hate me, or worse, try to take Maya away. Because I'd built a life here, fragile but mine, and I was scared to risk it. Because I was a coward. Sometimes adult problems don't have easy solutions," I said finally. Maya seemed to accept this, turning her attention back to the TV. But I could tell she was thinking about it, her 5-year-old mind working on the problem. After I put her to bed, reading 3 chapters of her current favorite book about a girl who befriends a dragon, I stood in her doorway and watched her sleep. She looked so much like Kieran it physically hurt. The shape of her face, the set of her jaw, the way her hair fell across the pillow. Our daughter. His daughter. And he didn't even know she existed. I walked to my own room, barely bigger than a closet, with just enough space for a bed and a small dresser. I pulled out the box I kept hidden in the back of my closet. Inside was everything from my old life. The photo of Kieran and me from the open mic night, now faded and creased from being looked at too many times. My old phone long dead, but with messages and photos I couldn't bear to delete. A hospital bracelet from when Maya was born. Her first ultrasound photo, grainy and unclear but precious. And at the bottom, a letter I'd written 100 times but never sent. "Dear Kieran, I don't even know if you'll read this. I don't know if you'll care. But I need to tell you the truth. That night I broke up with you, I was lying. About everything. My family threatened to destroy your career if I didn't end things. They had connections at your record label. They would have made sure you never recorded another song. I couldn't let them do that to you. Your music means too much, to you, to the world. So I lied. I said horrible things. I made you think I didn't love you. But I did. God, Kieran, I loved you so much it terrified me. I still do. And there's something else you need to know. Something I should have told you years ago. You have a daughter. Her name is Maya Rose Cross. She's 5 years old, with your eyes and your hair and your gift for music. She's beautiful and bright and funny and perfect. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. I didn't tell you because I was scared. Scared of my family, scared of disrupting your career, scared of 1,000 things that probably seem stupid now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If you want to meet her, if you want to be part of her life, I'll find a way to make it work. And if you don't, if this is too much, if you hate me too much, I understand. But I needed you to know. I'm in Crescent Bay. We're safe. We're okay. I hope your music still makes you happy. I hope you're living your dreams. All my love. Blue. I'd written versions of this letter dozens of times over the years. But I'd never sent any of them. Because once I did, once Kieran knew, everything would change. And I was terrified of what that change might look like. I put the letter back in the box and closed the lid. Tomorrow. I'd deal with it tomorrow. But tomorrow came, and I still didn't send the letter. Tomorrow became next week, next month, next year. Life continued. Wake up, make breakfast, work, pick up Maya, dinner, bedtime, repeat. The days blurred together in a rhythm of survival and love. Maya started first grade. She joined the school choir and discovered she could sing like her other papa. She made friends, got good grades, asked questions about Kieran that got harder to answer as she got older. Why can't we just go to one of his concerts? She asked one day, now 6 years old and growing bolder. Other kids meet their favorite musicians. Why can't I meet mine? Especially when he's my papa. Because I struggled for an answer. Because it's complicated, pumpkin. You always say that. But I'm not a baby anymore. I'm 6. I can understand complicated. She was right. She was getting old enough to understand more, to ask harder questions, to not accept someday and it's complicated as answers. That night, after Maya was asleep, I sat at our tiny kitchen table with my laptop open. I pulled up Kieran's official website, his social media, his management company's contact information. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to type out a message that would change everything. Mr. Cross, you don't know me, but 5 years ago. No, too formal. Kieran, I know this will come as a shock. Too dramatic. Dear Kieran, you have a daughter. Too blunt. I closed the laptop without sending anything. Again, the months continued to pass. Maya turned 7, then 8. She was in 3rd grade now, reading at a 5th grade level, composing simple melodies on the guitar I'd saved up to buy her for her 7th birthday. And still, I couldn't bring myself to reach out to Kieran. Then, one evening when Maya was 8 years old, I came home from work to find her in her room, my old phone in her hands. Maya, how did you? That phone doesn't even work anymore. I know. She looked up at me, and there were tears on her cheeks. But I wanted to see the pictures. The ones of other papa. The ones you took before everything. I sat down beside her on the bed. On the dead phone's screen was a photo of Kieran, one I'd taken years ago. He was laughing, his head thrown back, pure joy on his face. He looks happy here, Maya whispered. Was he always happy like this? When we were together, yes. He was happy. But then you broke up, and he wrote all those sad songs. She looked at me with those two knowing eyes. His first album is all about heartbreak. Everyone knows that. About someone who hurt him. My throat tightened. Yes. That was you, wasn't it? You're the one who broke his heart. I couldn't lie to her. Not about this. Yes. That was me. But you said you did it to protect him. I did. Then why? Her voice broke. Why does he look so sad in his recent interviews? I watched one online at Sophie's house. The interviewer asked if he'd found love again, and he said no. He said he doesn't think he's capable of trusting anyone like that again. Papa, he's still hurt. After all these years. The tears were flowing freely down her face now, and seeing my daughter cry over the pain I'd caused broke something inside me. And you're sad too, Maya continued. Every time you watch him on TV, every time his song comes on the radio, you get this look on your face like your heart is breaking all over again. You both love each other. You both hurt. And I'm here, and I could maybe help fix it, but you won't even try. Maya, I want to meet him. She was crying harder now, her small body shaking. I want to meet my other papa. I want him to know about me. I want us to be a real family. Why won't you let that happen? I pulled her into my arms, holding her tight while she sobbed against my shoulder. My own tears fell into her hair. I'm scared, I admitted. I'm so scared, baby. What if he hates me? What if he doesn't want to know you? What if he does? Maya pulled back, looking at me with determined eyes, Kieran's eyes. What if he's been waiting for someone to tell him the truth? What if he wants to meet me just as much as I want to meet him? She had a point. For 8 years, I'd been making decisions based on fear. Fear of my family, fear of rejection, fear of change. But what about Maya's right to know her father? What about Kieran's right to know his daughter? You're right, I said softly. You're absolutely right. I've been selfish, keeping you two apart. So you'll tell him? Hope lit up her face. You'll let him know about me? I thought about the letter in the box, the drafts of emails I'd never sent, the phone numbers I'd never called. I thought about Kieran, still sad after all these years, still singing songs about lost love. I thought about Maya, growing up with only one parent when she could have two. Yes, I said, the word feeling both terrifying and liberating. I'll tell him. I promise. Maya threw her arms around me. Thank you, Papa. Thank you. That night, after Maya finally fell asleep, excited and hopeful for the first time in forever about meeting her other papa, I sat down at my laptop with determination I'd never had before. I would tell Kieran. Somehow, some way, I would find a way to reach him and tell him the truth. I just had to figure out how. I started typing, then deleting, then typing again. Email after email, message after message, all unsent. It was past midnight when I finally gave up, exhausted and frustrated. I checked on Maya one last time before going to bed. She was sleeping peacefully, a smile on her face, probably dreaming about finally meeting the father she'd only seen on TV. And that's when I noticed something that made my blood run cold. My old phone, the dead one with all the photos, was on her nightstand. And it was plugged into her charger. No, she wouldn't have. I grabbed the phone. It was charging. And when I pressed the power button, it flickered to life. The battery icon showed 15%. With shaking hands, I unlocked it. I'd never changed the password, and apparently Maya had figured it out. I opened the messaging app. And there, in the sent messages to Kieran's old number, was a message sent 2 hours ago. Hi. You don't know me, but I'm your daughter. My name is Maya. I'm 8 years old. My papa, the one who raised me, is blue. He was your boyfriend a long time ago, before I was born. Papa always cries when he watches you on TV. He says it's because he misses you. He says he had to break your heart to protect you, but he never stopped loving you. I want to meet you. I play guitar like you. I have your eyes. I think about you all the time. Please don't be mad at Papa. He was trying to do the right thing. He's a good papa. The best. Why did you hurt him? Why did you let him cry so much? I live in Crescent Bay. If you want to meet me, I want to meet you too. Your daughter. Maya Rose Cross. I stared at the message, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. She'd sent it. My 8-year-old daughter had taken matters into her own hands and contacted Kieran. The number was old, probably didn't work anymore. The message probably went nowhere, disappeared into the void of disconnected numbers and dead ends. But what if it didn't? What if somehow Kieran saw it? What if everything was about to change? I looked at Maya, sleeping peacefully, unaware that she'd just potentially destroyed or saved our lives. And all I could do was wait to see which one it would be. I didn't sleep that night. Not 1 minute. I sat on the couch in our small living room, my old phone clutched in my hands, staring at Maya's message like it might suddenly unsend itself. Every few minutes, I'd check to see if it had been delivered, if there were red receipts, any sign that anyone had seen it. Nothing. The message just sat there, sent into the void of a disconnected number. Maybe it was better this way. Maybe. My current phone buzzed on the coffee table, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. It was 3:47 a.m. Who would be texting at this hour? Unknown number. My hands shook as I opened the message. Is this Blue? 3 words. Just 3 words, but they made my entire world tilt. I stared at the message, my mind racing. It could be anyone. Could be spam. Could be. Another message came through. Marcus gave me this number. He said you tried to reach me 5 years ago. Said you were in trouble. I never knew. They never told me. Kieran. It was Kieran. Another message. I need to know if that message is real. If Maya is real. Please. My fingers trembled so badly I could barely type. It's real as said. She's real. She sent that message from my old phone. I didn't know she was going to do it. The 3 dots appeared immediately, showing he was typing. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Like he kept starting and stopping, not knowing what to say. Finally, I have so many questions. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. Where are you? You said Crescent Bay? Yes. I confirmed, we live here. Have for 5 years. I'm in Seattle right now, he said, finishing up a tour. Crescent Bay is what, 6 hours from here? My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. About that, yes. I'm coming there. Tomorrow. Today, I guess, since it's almost 4 a.m. I need to see you. I need to meet her. Can I? This was it. The moment I'd been both dreading and hoping for 8 years. Yes. Of course, yes. She wants to meet you so much. Good. Because I just canceled my next 2 tour stops. My manager is losing his mind, but I don't care. Send me your address. With shaking fingers, I typed out our address, the small apartment above the hardware store on Main Street. The place that was a universe away from the mansion I'd grown up in, and even further from the penthouse apartments and luxury hotels Kieran probably lived in now. It's not much. Just warning you. I don't care if you're living in a cardboard box, Blue. You have my daughter. Our daughter. Nothing else matters. I sat there staring at those words until the sun started to rise. Our daughter. He'd said our daughter, like it was the most natural thing in the world, like he'd already accepted her, claimed her. Tears streamed down my face, relief, terror, hope, all mixed together in an overwhelming flood of emotion. At 7 a.m., Maya bounded out of her room like always, chattering about breakfast. I watched her, seeing Kieran in every gesture, every expression. How had I kept them apart for so long? Papa? Why do you look so weird? Maya tilted her head, studying me. Did you sleep at all? No, I admitted. Baby, we need to talk. Her eyes widened. Am I in trouble? Is it about the phone? I'm sorry, I know I wasn't supposed to, but I just wanted to. You're not in trouble. I pulled her onto the couch beside me. Maya, the message you sent last night, he got it. She froze. What? Kieran. Your other papa. He got your message. And he wants to meet you. Today. For a moment, Maya just stared at me. Then she screamed, a high-pitched squeal of pure joy that probably woke the neighbors, and threw herself into my arms. He's coming? Really? Today? Oh my gosh, Papa, what do I wear? Should I practice my guitar? What if he doesn't like me? What if? Maya breathed. I held her tight, trying to calm her even though my own heart was racing. He's going to love you. How could he not? You're amazing. But what about you? She pulled back, her expression suddenly serious. Are you and other Papa going to? Are you going to be together again? God, I hadn't even let myself think about that. About what this meant for Kieran and me beyond Maya. I don't know, Pumpkin. A lot has happened. A lot of time has passed. Right now, let's just focus on you meeting him, okay? She nodded, but I could see her mind working, probably imagining some fairy tale reunion where we all became one happy family. I hoped she wouldn't be too disappointed when reality was more complicated. The day passed in a blur of nervous energy. I called in sick to both my jobs, something I never did, but this was important. Maya and I cleaned the apartment, though it was already clean. She changed her outfit 7 times, finally settling on her favorite purple dress with stars. She practiced 3 songs on her guitar, determined to show her other papa what she could do. What if I mess up? She asked as she tuned the guitar for the 5th time. You won't. And even if you do, he won't care. Maya, your father has been playing guitar since he was younger than you. He knows that mistakes are part of learning. He'll just be happy to see you play. You keep calling him my father, Maya said softly. Not other papa. Is that okay? She smiled. Yeah, I think I like father better. It sounds more real. At 2 p.m., my phone buzzed. Kieran, I'm here. Parked outside the hardware store. Is this really the right place? I looked out the window and saw a black SUV with tinted windows. Definitely not a car that belonged in Crescent Bay's modest downtown. That's us. 2nd floor, door on the right side of the building. Okay, I'm nervous. Is that crazy? No, I'm terrified. Good. He said I'm glad it's not just me. I watched from the window as the driver's side door opened. And then he was there, stepping onto the sidewalk of our small town. Kieran Cross, multi-platinum recording artist, standing outside our rundown apartment building in jeans and a hoodie, looking up at our window. He looked the same. Different, but the same. His hair was longer, styled more carefully. His clothes were expensive, even the casual ones. He moved with a confidence that hadn't been there 8 years ago. Success looked good on him. But his eyes, when he looked up and our gazes met through the window, his eyes were the same. Vulnerable. Scared. Hopeful. Papa. Is that him? Maya had climbed onto the couch to peer out the window. Oh my gosh, he's really here. He's really, Papa, I can't breathe. Yes, you can. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Just like we practiced. Maya did the breathing exercises while I watched Kieran enter the building. I heard his footsteps on the stairs, slow, hesitant, like he was walking towards something that might explode. Then he was at our door. I looked at Maya. She looked at me. We both looked at the door. You can do this, I whispered to her. I'll be right here. I opened the door. Kieran stood in the hallway, and up close, I could see the changes more clearly. The fine lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. The way he carried himself, like someone who'd been tested and survived. The expensive watch on his wrist, the designer sneakers. But then his eyes met mine, and suddenly we were back in his tiny apartment 8 years ago, young and in love and thinking we could conquer the world together. Blue, he said, and my name in his voice after all these years broke something open inside me. Kieran. Movement behind me interrupted whatever I was going to say. Maya had stepped forward, standing slightly in front of me, looking up at Kieran with those eyes that matched his exactly. The world stopped. Kieran stared at Maya. Maya stared at Kieran. Neither of them moved, neither seemed to breathe. Then Kieran's knees buckled, and he dropped into a crouch, bringing himself to eye level with our daughter. His hand came up to his mouth, and I realized he was crying. Hi, Maya said softly. I'm Maya. Hi, Maya. Kieran's voice cracked. I'm your father. I know. I have your eyes. She pointed to her own eyes, then his. See? They're exactly the same. Kieran laughed through his tears. Yeah, they are. He looked her over like he was memorizing every detail. You're beautiful. You're so beautiful. Papa says I look like you. He says I have your hair and your eyes and your talent for music. The words tumbled out of Maya in a rush. I play guitar. I've been learning for 3 years. Papa bought me one from the pawn shop, and I practice every day, and I know 6 chords, and I wrote a song about the ocean, and... Maya, breathe. I said gently, my hand on her shoulder. She took a breath, then looked back at Kieran. I'm sorry. I'm just really excited. I've wanted to meet you my whole life. Your whole life, Kieran repeated, his voice hollow. He looked up at me then, and there was so much in that look, pain, anger, wonder, confusion. 8 years, Blue. She's 8 years old, and I'm just meeting her now. I know. I'm sorry. Can we talk? He stood up, his alpha presence suddenly more commanding. All of us. Inside. Because I have a lot of questions and I need answers. I stepped back, letting him enter our small apartment. I watched him take it in, the worn furniture from thrift stores, the peeling wallpaper, the kitchen that was barely bigger than a closet. This was my life. Our life. So different from the world he lived in now. It's small, I said defensively. But it's home. We're happy here. I'm not judging, Kieran said quietly. He walked over to the refrigerator, where Maya's artwork was displayed with magnets. Drawings, school assignments, a family tree project that showed Papa Blue on one side and other Papa Kieran on the other. His finger traced the drawing of himself. You told her about me. Of course I did. I moved to stand beside Maya, my hand in hers. I never lied to her about who you are. I showed her pictures, played her your music. She knows you're her father. She's always known. But I didn't know about her. He turned to face me, and the hurt in his eyes was devastating. Why, Blue? Why didn't you tell me? Can I show you something first? Maya interrupted, tugging on Kieran's sleeve. Before you and Papa talk about the grown-up stuff? Can I show you my guitar? Kieran looked down at her, and his expression softened immediately. Yeah, I'd love to see your guitar. Maya ran to her room and came back with her acoustic guitar. Secondhand, scratched, but well-loved and carefully maintained. She sat on the couch and patted the spot next to her. Sit here. Kieran sat, his movements careful, like he was afraid he might break something precious. Maya positioned the guitar and started to play. She played a song I'd heard her practice 100 times. One of Kieran's early songs from his first album. The sad one about lost love. She stumbled on a chord change, grimaced, but kept going. When she finished, she looked up at Kieran nervously. That was pretty good, right? I know I messed up the F chord. That one's hard. But Papa says practice makes perfect, so That was incredible. Kieran's voice was thick with emotion. Maya, you're 8 years old and you're playing my songs. Do you know how amazing that is? Really? Her face lit up. You're not just saying that. I never just say things about music. He reached out hesitantly, then gently brushed a curl back from her face. The same gesture I'd seen him do 1,000 times when his hair fell in his eyes. You have real talent. Natural rhythm, good ear for pitch. With lessons, with practice, you could be incredible. Papa can't afford lessons, Maya said matter-of-factly. He works 2 jobs and we have to save money for important things. But he bought me this guitar and he helps me learn from YouTube videos. Kieran's jaw tightened, and when he looked at me, there was something fierce in his expression. We're going to fix that. Kieran. No, Blue. We're going to talk about this. About all of this. He stood up. Maya, sweetheart, can you give your papa and me a few minutes to talk? Adult stuff, like you said. Maya looked between us, then nodded. Okay, but you're not going to leave, right? You're not going to disappear. No. Kieran crouched down again, taking her small hands in his larger ones. I'm not going anywhere. I promise. I just found out I have a daughter, the most amazing daughter in the world. I'm not letting you go. Ever. Okay. Okay. Maya threw her arms around his neck, hugging him tight. Kieran closed his eyes, his arms coming around her, and I saw a tear slip down his cheek. When Maya went to her room, Kieran and I stood in the small living room, the weight of 8 years between us. Explain, he said simply. Start from the beginning and don't leave anything out. So I did. I told him everything, about my parents' threats, about the pregnancy, about their plan to force me into terminating it, about running away with almost nothing, about the past 8 years of working multiple jobs and scraping by, about watching him on TV and being proud and heartbroken in equal measure. I tried to reach you, I said, my voice breaking. After I found out I was pregnant, I tried calling, emailing, everything. But you'd changed your number. Your management screened everything. I couldn't get through. Marcus said you contacted him once. Kieran's voice was tight. 5 years ago. He told me yesterday, after I called him freaking out about Maya's message. He said you seemed desperate, but he didn't help you because he thought you were trying to manipulate me. I was desperate. I was pregnant and alone and terrified. You should have tried harder. The words exploded out of him. God, Blue, you should have shown up at a concert, at the record label, somewhere public where they couldn't turn you away. You should have. I was scared. I shouted back. I was scared of my family finding me. Scared of disrupting your career. Scared you'd hate me for lying to you. Scared of everything. I made mistakes, Kieran. I know I did. But I was 23 years old, pregnant and alone. I did the best I could. Your best was keeping my daughter from me for 8 years? His voice dropped to something dangerous. Your best was letting me think you were a spoiled Omega who used me for fun? Do you have any idea what that did to me? Yes. I know exactly what it did because I lived with the guilt every single day. Tears were streaming down my face now. I heard your songs. I saw your interviews. I watched you tell that reporter you didn't think you could trust anyone again, and I wanted to die because I did that to you. I destroyed you to save you, and I've been paying for it every day since. We stood there, both breathing hard, 8 years of pain and anger and loss crackling in the air between us. Why didn't you try to reach me after she was born? Kieran asked, his voice quieter now. Once you knew your family hadn't found you, once things were stable, why didn't you try again? Because. I wiped at my tears. Because by then you were famous. You were on magazine covers and selling out stadiums. You had everything you'd dreamed of. And I was nobody. Just a single parent working minimum wage jobs in a small town. What if you thought I wanted money? What if you tried to take her from me? What if I loved her? Kieran interrupted. What if I wanted to be her father? What if I would have helped you, supported you, been there for both of you? Did you ever think of that? Every single day, I whispered. But I was scared to hope for that. Scared to risk it. Kieran ran his hands through his hair. That familiar gesture of frustration I remembered so well. I don't know how to feel right now. I'm so angry at you, Blue. So fucking angry for what you took from me. But I'm also. He looked toward Maya's room. I'm also a father now. I have a daughter. And she's perfect. And she needs me. She does need you, I agreed softly. She's needed you all along. That's why I never spoke badly about you. Why I made sure she knew you. Why I let her love you even from a distance. Because you're her father, and she deserved to know that. I want to be part of her life. Kieran's voice was firm, final. Not just visits or phone calls. I want to really be her father. Okay. Yes. Of course. And you? He stepped closer, his gray eyes intense. I don't know what we are anymore. I don't know if I can trust you again. But we have a daughter together, and we need to figure out how to do this. I know. I'll do whatever you need. Whatever's best for Maya. What's best for Maya is having both her parents. He looked around the small apartment again. Blue, I have money now. A lot of money. I can help. I can. I don't want your money, I said automatically. Too bad. His voice was sharp. This isn't about pride or independence. This is about our daughter. You're working 2 jobs and barely making ends meet. She's wearing thrift store clothes and can't afford music lessons. That ends now. Kieran, I'm not trying to control you or take over. But I'm also not going to pretend it's okay that my daughter is living in poverty when I have more than enough to help. He pulled out his phone. I'm setting up a bank account in your name. I'm transferring money for Maya's expenses, clothes, lessons, activities, whatever she needs. That's too much. It's not nearly enough to make up for 8 years of child support I should have been paying. He looked at me, and something in his expression softened slightly. Let me do this, Blue. Let me help take care of her. Please. I wanted to argue, to insist we were fine, that we didn't need his help. But looking around our small apartment, thinking about all the things Maya wanted that I couldn't afford, all the opportunities she'd missed. Okay, I said quietly. For Maya. Thank you. A knock on Maya's door made us both turn. Can I come out now? The grown-up talking sounds like it's done. Despite everything, I smiled. Yes, Pumpkin. Come out. Maya emerged cautiously, looking between us. Are you fighting? We're working things out, Kieran said. Maya, I have a question for you. How would you feel if I stayed in Crescent Bay for a while? So we could get to know each other better. Maya's face transformed with joy. Really? You'd stay here? But don't you have to do famous people stuff? I can do famous people stuff from anywhere. My manager will complain, but that's his job. Kieran smiled at her, his first real smile since arriving. I want to spend time with you. If that's okay with you and your papa. It's more than okay. Maya ran over and hugged him again. Can you teach me more guitar? And tell me stories about being on tour? And oh, can you come to my school? For show and tell? Everyone would freak out. Kieran laughed, a real laugh this time. We'll see about the school thing. But yes to the guitar lessons. Definitely yes to that. I watched them together, our daughter and her father, the family I'd kept apart for so long, and felt something in my chest both break and heal at the same time. This wasn't the fairy tale reunion Maya had probably imagined. Kieran and I weren't rushing into each other's arms, declaring our love, promising to be together forever. But maybe it was something better, something real. A beginning, a chance, a possibility. Papa, Maya called to me. Come here. We should take a picture. Our first picture together, all 3 of us. I walked over, standing beside them. Maya positioned herself between us, grabbing both our hands. Kieran held up his phone and took a selfie, the 3 of us, reflected in his screen. A family. Broken and scarred and complicated, but a family nonetheless. Perfect, Maya declared, looking at the photo. Can you send that to Papa? He can put it on the fridge with my other drawings. Yeah, Kieran said softly, his eyes meeting mine over Maya's head. I'll send it to him. There was so much left unsaid between us. So many wounds to heal, so many conversations still to have. The hurt was still there, the anger, the broken trust. But as I looked at Maya's joyful face, at Kieran's cautious smile, I felt something I hadn't felt in 8 years. Hope. Real, genuine hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way through this. Not back to what we were, but forward to something new. For Maya. For ourselves. For the family we'd lost and were tentatively rebuilding. So, Kieran said, looking around our small apartment. What do we do now? Maya grinned. Now you have to stay for dinner. Papa's making spaghetti. It's not fancy, but it's good. Spaghetti sounds perfect, Kieran said, and the way he looked at us, at his daughter, at me, made my heart ache with everything we'd lost and everything we might still find. The music had stopped 8 years ago when I walked out of his apartment. But maybe, just maybe, it was time to start a new song. One with all 3 of us singing together. Papa. Daddy. Hurry up, or we're going to be late. I smiled as Maya's voice echoed through the house. Not the tiny apartment anymore, but the small cottage by the beach that Kieran had bought for us 3 months ago. He'd insisted it wasn't charity, just making sure my daughter has a proper home. We're coming, Pumpkin. I called back, adjusting my tie in the mirror. Kieran appeared behind me, dressed in a sharp black suit. Our eyes met in the reflection, and he gave me a small smile. Things between us were still complicated, still healing. We weren't together. Not yet. Maybe not ever, in the way we'd been before. But we were something. Co-parents, friends, and maybe, tentatively, carefully, something more. You ready for this? He asked. Maya's been practicing for months. She's so ready. Tonight was Maya's first real performance, playing guitar at the Crescent Bay Summer Festival. Kieran had been giving her lessons 3 times a week, and she'd grown so much in just 6 months. She was playing one of his songs and one of her own compositions. I meant, are you ready? Kieran clarified. Your parents will probably see the news coverage. Everyone's going to know about her now. About us. Right. Because Kieran Cross attending a small-town festival to watch his daughter perform was definitely newsworthy. We'd managed to keep Maya out of the spotlight for 6 months, but Kieran had insisted she shouldn't have to hide anymore. Let them know, I said firmly. I'm not scared of them anymore. They can't hurt us now. Kieran's hand found mine, squeezing gently. No, they can't. I won't let them. We won't let them, I corrected. We're a team now. Yeah, he said softly. We are. Papas, Maya yelled. Come on. We headed outside where Maya waited, wearing the new dress Kieran had bought her, purple with silver stars, and carrying her guitar. Her guitar. The professional one Kieran had given her last month, custom-made and perfect for her small hands. Finally, she rolled her eyes dramatically. I'm 8 years old, and I'm more responsible than both of you. 9 next month, Kieran corrected, ruffling her hair. My little girl's growing up. Because you feed me too much, Maya teased. Papa says I've grown 2 inches since you started cooking for us. That's what fathers do, Kieran said, his voice warm. We make sure our kids are taken care of. The word father came easily to him now. He'd embraced it completely, throwing himself into parenting with the same intensity he brought to his music. At the festival, Maya took the stage in front of hundreds of people. I stood in the crowd with Kieran beside me, both of us tense with nervous pride. Then Maya started to play, and the entire world fell away. She was brilliant, confident and talented, and so much like her father it made my chest tight. When she finished, the crowd erupted in applause. That's my daughter, Kieran said, his voice thick with emotion. That's our daughter, Blue. Yeah, I whispered. She is. Maya found us in the crowd after her performance, launching herself into both our arms at once. I did it. Did you see? Did I do okay? You were perfect, we said in unison, then looked at each other and laughed. So, Maya said, looking between us with those knowing eyes. When are you two going to figure out you're still in love with each other? Maya, I felt my face heat. What? It's obvious. You look at each other all googly-eyed when you think I'm not watching. And father, stays for dinner every night now. And last week I saw you holding hands. Kieran and I exchanged glances. He raised an eyebrow, a question in his eyes. Were we still in love? Or was it just the remnants of what we'd had before, mixed with co-parenting and healing and hope? How about this? Kieran said slowly, his eyes on me. How about we take it one day at a time? See where it goes. One day at a time, I agreed. Ugh, grown-ups are so slow, Maya sighed dramatically. But okay, I can wait. As long as we're all together. We're all together, Kieran confirmed. That's not changing. And as we walked through the festival, Maya between us, holding both our hands, I realized something. Maybe we weren't the family I'd imagined all those years ago. We'd taken a much harder, more painful path to get here. But we were a family. Real and imperfect and beautiful. And this time, I wasn't letting go. Not ever again.